San Diego is a really tough place to relocate to. Every single area is so different. There's different places that come with different problems and others that come with some really good positives, but the trouble is in finding them. So this video is going to be a guide on how to relocate to San Diego. I'm going to talk about many different points to help you kind of get an idea of what you should expect, what you should look for, and then ultimately what to avoid at the very end of this video. I'm going to help you with the ultimate San Diego relocation guide. Stay tuned. First, we're going to start with navigating the different areas throughout San Diego. San Diego has North County San Diego, we have Central San Diego, we have East County San Diego, and we have South San Diego. And I'm going to explain kind of what makes every area so different, and then just mention a few neighborhoods that you should probably want to look out for. So we're going to go ahead and start off with North County San Diego. This is actually where I first grew up. I was born in Salt Lake City, Utah. I moved over to Carlsbad from a very early age. I went to elementary school there, but I've hopped around to different places in North County. North County, just as a whole, is very, very calm. I would say it's for the type of person that wants something that's a little bit more slower paced, beach lifestyle. It is a little bit more higher end on the price ranges, even in rentals and single family homes as you go more west towards the beaches. So like places like Carlsbad, Encinitas, Leucadia, Solana Beach. Those areas are really expensive in comparison to the areas to the east in North County, which is Oceanside, Escondido, Vista. So you kind of want to establish, what range you're looking for, and then what kind of environment you're looking for. As you go more west into North County San Diego is where you'll find more vibrancy. You have the Carlsbad Village, you have Encinitas, the downtown area where you get to hop around to all the restaurants and bars. But if you're a family, you may want more space, and more space at an affordable price typically comes a little bit more east. So areas like Vista and Escondido have grown immensely over the last 10 to 15 years. They used to not be the best areas in town, but now that's quickly changed and home prices there have shot up. A lot of families are taking advantage of the local parks. There's also school districts in there that are highly rated, especially in the San Marcos area. So it kind of really depends on your lifestyle, what you're looking to get out of the area. I would say that there is something for everyone in North County San Diego, but I will say that in comparison to the rest of it, it's a lot more calmer, a lot more slower. So just take that in mind if you're considering North County San Diego. Central San Diego is the complete opposite of North County San Diego. It's what people think about when they're thinking about having the city scene, the nightlife, the just being alive. But at the same time, it comes with a steep cost. If you're looking for that downtown lifestyle, things are going to be a lot more expensive for a lot less of what you're going to get in return in terms of space, even when it comes to rentals or buying a home. Central San Diego is also referenced as Metro San Diego, where you have downtown, Hillcrest, Bankers Hills, Mission Hills, you have Normal Heights, you have Kensington, you have South Park. I mean, I can go on and on and on. I've personally lived in Central San Diego as an adult. I started off in North Park and then I moved to Golden Hills. So I have a kind of an idea of what there is as far as lifestyle. I would definitely say it's for younger professionals. There are some families there around the South Park area, really great neighborhood. South Park isn't really the place where a lot of people can afford it. There is a barrier to entry and that area is super expensive. So it's not going to be for the ideal first-time home buyer that's looking to move to San Diego. I would say you would probably be a little bit more established and then moving up into that area. As far as for singles and couples, I think a lot of people enjoy the area just because you have all the accessibility to the nightlife. You have the Hillcrest downtown, you have downtown obviously with the gas lamp quarter, you have Little Italy right around the corner. So I think in terms of nightlife and the pace of lifestyle, Metro San Diego is perfect for someone who's looking for more just liveliness, just in an area where they can see themselves in. And eventually, as you get to know San Diego, maybe in different phases of life, you move to those other areas. One thing about Central San Diego that I didn't really enjoy was the fact that a lot of these areas don't really cater to having pets. So like for instance, North Park. It's called North Park, but there isn't really that many parks in North Park. So if you are a big pet person that likes to have like the parks right next door or an area where they can just kind of run loose, North Park really isn't that area. You're probably going to want to go a little bit more west. Also, like areas like West Point Loma, we have Ocean Beach, we have La Jolla, Pacific Beach, that kind of is really close to the central San Diego area. It's more coastal San Diego, and those areas are obviously more expensive. I mean, being closer to the beach, that's kind of what you get. In San Diego, the more west you go, the more expensive things tend to get. So just take that into account if you're wondering, like, why am I looking at all these places and it seems like way out of my price range? Well, that's pretty much the reason. Central San Diego provides a really good option to be close to the beach, like 10 to 15 minute drive away, without having to pay those premium prices. Now we're going to talk about East County San Diego. East County San Diego is completely different. It almost feels like a different world. I mean, we have places like El Cajon, Santee, Spring Valley, Encanto, and these areas can't really be generalized as one thing. You kind of get different benefits and different cons going into each area, and some of them are still growing. I lived in East County for about 2 years after living in Central San Diego, and I will say that as a single person, it was very hard to find things to do. It was just basically going to work and going back home, and there wasn't really much around, especially in the El Cajon area. There really wasn't much else to do. I found that it was really common for families to move into like the Granite Hills area, Crest, and the thing with East County San Diego that most people move out there for, you get more for what you pay in housing prices. So if you're looking for a nice backyard or a more spacious home, that's what East County San Diego is known for, is just being relatively more affordable than the rest of San Diego. So for instance, if you don't mind commuting and maybe you work in North County or Central San Diego, well, East County provides a perfect alternative to finding the space that you need. And people love having premium lots. They like having expansive lots. Maybe they wanted a little bit more family-oriented lifestyle. Well, that's the perfect area for most people. So I think that with East County, there's also a lot of areas that probably are a work in progress. So you'll see that some areas might have more affordable homes, but just know that that comes with a return of, like, you might not have the most upkept streets. Every street might be a little different. You might find some pockets that are really nice and other areas that are not so much as nice. And I think that most people who live in East County, San Diego understand that, that they're looking long-term into the future. And I do think East County, San Diego is gonna grow. Santee is a perfect example of that. I've heard of a lot of people saying a lot of negative comments in my previous video, living in Santee, where they said that, there's a lot of discrimination that has been known to go on in those areas. But looking fast forward to today, it has diversified. There has been a lot of recent new developments, from all the shopping, the restaurants, families. I know close friends of mine who have moved to the area and have said, what we used to think about in the past, it has changed immensely. And so if you are hearing a lot of bad things, just try to get a perspective from someone who actively lives in that community today. I find that people kind of ruin things for others. So, and go tour it. I've had home buyers who say, oh, I've heard so much about Santee. And I'm like, well, have you even visited before? And if you haven't, gather your own experience as to how you feel in this area. Can you see yourself living here long term? I mean, there's so many different things that I find that people are surprised by. They're like, well, maybe it's not for this person, but it might be for this person. So that's kind of just the general feel of East County, San Diego, is that some areas are a work in progress, some are already at its full potential. And then it just kind of depends. It's like, do you want to be that far east? Like places like Ramona, like where you get a whole bunch of land, but you're in Ramona. So that's East County, San Diego. Now we're gonna dive into South San Diego. South San Diego is actually kind of weird. It's kind of into two different parts. Chula Vista, and then like kind of southern of Chula Vista, like the National City area. There's also a few other neighborhoods that come to mind. And the deal with South San Diego is that Chula Vista is immense. It's really big. You have West Chula Vista and you have East Chula Vista. You have Otay Mesa, Otay Ranch, you have Imperial Beach, and a lot of people don't realize that Chula Vista is kind of like its own world. When you tour through there, it's really beautiful in some parts, and other parts are just kind of growing and developing. I created a Living in Chula Vista video where you can check out why Chula Vista is so different and what's the difference between East and West. But to kind of generalize and quickly go over, West Chula Vista is kind of that area that's still developing. It's kind of weird because it is closer to the ocean, but for some reason it really hasn't changed in a way where it's made things better. East Chula Vista, in comparison, is where all the new construction's at. All the highly rated school districts, you'll be surprised, like places like Eastlake, Otay Mesa, Otay Ranch. There's new developments going on to this day that are getting built and released in 2023. So I think it's a good option. Kind of same thing with East County San Diego. It's a little bit more expensive because these areas are far nicer and more developed and new. So you're paying a premium for that. And then also it has a large Hispanic community. So if you're someone who's looking for more diversity, more inclusiveness of the culture, and having the proximity to places like Mexico, that's where a lot of people kind of relate themselves to. They're like, oh, you know, I love Chula Vista because I get the Mexican culture. I also get to expose my kids to it. Or I'm Hispanic and I really see myself living in an area like that to keep the culture alive within our family. So you'll see a lot of variety. And it's not just Mexican culture. There's all types of people who live in Chula Vista. And I mean, they enjoy it, they love it. Their kids can go walk to school. You'll see oftentimes groups of kids just walking back home in a safe area. You'll rarely hear about things happening in East Chula Vista. West Chula Vista, on the other hand, is a completely different story. It has been known to have, you know, a lot of violence and a lot of delinquency and just gangs and that sort of thing, but it's been cleaned up in recent years, and today it might be a little rough around the edges, but there's still opportunities. I mean, we're still in the west side of Chula Vista. And the thing about Chula Vista is that it's really close to places like Coronado and Imperial Beach, where there's a large military presence. This military presence has helped the area grow. I mean, we have naval bases where people kind of commute back and forth to, and having that access to Chula Vista gives them an easy, it gives them an easy commute. They don't want to go too far out. One of San Diego's hidden gems within the southern region would be Imperial Beach. I think this is probably the most overlooked community in all of San Diego. I'm gonna give you a few quick pros and cons, and I eventually will make a more detailed video, but just to kind of give you some insight on South San Diego is that Imperial Beach is the most affordable coastal community throughout all of San Diego. And it's one of those areas where you can find a condo under $500,000. You can find a single family home around $850, $800, $700K with a nice lot, and you're only a few miles away from the beach. You could even take your bike and just ride it down to the main downtown area, go to Mike Hess Brewing, go to Luigi's, my favorite pizza spot, and have those ocean picturesque views. Now the con is that most people who think of Imperial Beach, they think of, well, it's been known as being a little ratty, you can't really swim in the water, you have Mexico, which has had sewage problems, and it has carried on into Imperial Beach. So the water does get tested every single day, and for the most part, it's pretty safe. However, some people are just very hesitant. If there's a risk at all, if you're anything like me, we're not gonna go into that water. But having the accessibility to a beach to just enjoy, to like walk on the sand, maybe tour some restaurants, and just having a nice family-friendly environment. As you tour through, I just know that you're gonna get a sense of like, wow, this is a really nice coastal community. Having toured recently with clients myself, I think that Imperial Beach is probably the dark horse of San Diego, especially in the southern region. So make sure you keep an eye on it if you're considering southern San Diego. If you're finding value in this video, I invite you to like and subscribe. I have content coming out every single Friday, helping you relocate to San Diego. And if you're looking to move to San Diego, whether it's to buy or just want someone's opinion, and if I can help in any way, shoot me an email, or just go ahead and check out my free resources that I have for you guys, and I'll look forward to speaking with you soon. Coastal San Diego is one of the most expensive places you can live, but trust me, if anyone can afford to live there, they would do so, including myself. So Coastal San Diego is really, when I think of it, I think of Ocean Beach, I think of La Jolla, I think of Pacific Beach, I think of all the areas that are really accessible to the ocean. And I think there are just some pros and cons to every single area, right? So affordability being the highest con of those areas. And I know that most people who live there love the beach lifestyle. I mean, how can you beat walking to the ocean at Pacific Beach? If you don't know of Old Man Surf Tourmaline Beach, it's one of the most beautiful places you can go to in the morning. A lot of locals just like to watch the surfers surf or have a nice walk to the pier. It's really that lifestyle of living the beach lifestyle. The California dream, where you're coming from different places throughout the East Coast and maybe the Midwest where you're not used to having oceans or 70-degree weather, but you don't really have to live in coastal San Diego to get that. So let's just say affordability is kind of like, one of the things that deter you. Well, at least you have access to it. The other areas I mentioned are only anywhere between 15 to 30-minute drives from the beaches. So coastal San Diego is its own thing. You have beautiful parks like Kate Sessions, you have dog parks like in Ocean Beach, and it's just really one of those areas that families know that they're pretty well maintained, pretty safe. There are some homes that are not maintained and upkept, but those homes tend to get picked up very quickly by people. And overall, it just kind of depends on what phase of life you're in. Are you someone who is a young professional looking for the nightlife, or are you a family looking to settle down? So just some neighborhoods to kind of give as suggestions if you're kind of looking for the nightlife, fast scene pace, but by the beach in the coastal region, you're going to be looking at Pacific Beach. Main area is Garnett, so you can just kind of walk around, go from place to place, hang out with friends, maybe just go to the beach. And then North Pacific Beach is actually one of the most highly sought out family communities in all of San Diego. You also have proximity to La Jolla. It's right on the border, but just know that these homes typically go up well within the millions range. And as far as rent prices go, you're looking at an average of between $400 to $4,500, but it can go way beyond that, just kind of depending on where you're at in coastal San Diego. Ocean Beach is kind of like the retired, laid back town where you get to hang out. My favorite place is Obi Noodle House. Go to Sunset Cliffs, get the picturesque views, and take your Instagram photos to show everyone that you're living the California lifestyle. Coastal San Diego is probably one of the best places that most people would love to live to, including myself. If I could get a little condo at the top of the 10th floor overlooking the ocean, that'd be perfect, but we gotta work up to that. So maybe coastal San Diego is an option for you. Just know that there are so many different communities to kind of look at. Now, flowing into the housing portion of moving to San Diego, housing here is very, very diverse. It's eclectic. It's not really a one size fits all. Just depending on all the different areas where you're gonna move into, you're gonna find a variety of different things. So you can expect condos, townhomes. You can also expect single family homes. You got duplexes, triplexes, you got apartment buildings. There's really no shortage of the amount of buildings we have here or the amount of homes we have here. So I think that one of the things, if you're considering to purchase, is just understand exactly what you're looking for. Are you looking for like an entry-level condo or townhome? Or are you somebody looking to, have your own space, have your own lot, have your own privacy? That's really important to you. Kind of establishing what's more important to you is gonna really help you kind of dictate what housing you're gonna look for. And we also have a home buyer's guide down below in the description and a checklist. So if you are considering purchasing, go ahead and utilize those resources. They're completely free. I'm not gonna ask for anything from you, but of course, if you have questions about certain areas or what houses you should look at, give me a call. Our team would love to help. Now, as far as rentals go, rentals are handled a little differently here. They're kind of all over. It's kind of a free-for-all. You have rentals on Zillow, Trulia. There's so many different websites for San Diego, and I think people are overwhelmed because maybe they come from places like the East Coast where you may reach out to a realtor that deals with rentals and has some that he knows about. Here in San Diego, it's a lot different than that. Realtors don't really specialize in rentals, specifically because they are all over the place. It's not a place like New York where the norm is having a realtor look for you. A lot of these property owners are not used to people looking on other people's behalf. They want the tenant. They want to talk to the tenant directly. That doesn't mean I can't help you with free rental resources. So if you do want some free rental resources, like the best websites I've found, and just kind of get my opinion on things, you can shoot me an email and I'd love to forward that information over to you. So when it comes to identifying rentals, some of the best places that I find that are not really talked about where you can land that perfect spot is maybe Facebook groups. So looking at rental sites there where property owners kind of advertise only on one platform and not everywhere else where they're getting hundreds of applications, quite literally. Or, you can go driving around in a particular neighborhood where you really enjoy living in. You can just drive around, you'll see signs pop up. Some people do bandit signs. They're not even advertising it on the internet. So driving around does make a huge benefit. And one of the tips that I have for you, that if you're having a lot of trouble finding a rental, kind of separating yourself from the pack of people who want this one home, let's say you want something really specific, is create a letter about yourself, about your family, about your situation, where you come from. create that human-to-human connection with this landlord. I've heard a lot of stories where people do these things, they hand it out, and then they find the perfect property and it just automatically, everything falls into place. And lastly, I mean, networking, talking to other people. Hey, do you know about housing, or do you know anyone who might have something? You'd be surprised how connections can land you something. And it might be that rental, it might be just that location, it might be a neighborhood that you never considered. Talk to people in San Diego. I find most people are open enough to help one another. So take these tips when you're looking at housing. A common question that I get is about the transportation within San Diego. How effective is it? Can you survive without a car? You know, are you able to use your bikes or your electric moped or whatever thing that you use, maybe even a skateboard? But just to kind of put it bluntly, if you have a commute and you need to be there by a certain time in the morning, unless I were within walking distance or a short bike ride away, you definitely need a car. And you definitely need a car if you want to explore the rest of San Diego. I mean, unless you are some sort of Olympic biker or someone who knows how to do, like maybe you've done the Tour de France, I don't know. I'm not gonna assume, but unless you're one of those things, getting around San Diego can be very difficult without a car. Public transportation, it's growing, it's great. I mean, they've made some improvements to the trolley. They've done things like expanding the trolley system from like La Jolla onto different areas in Mission Valley. They're proposing on even expanding it there, adding a few more stops. However, as a local, and as many other locals will tell you, not having a car is a definite no-no. You need a car. Just know that, and I think your life will be a whole lot easier if you just have a car. So driving around San Diego is very different. We have major freeways, and we have freeways like the 805, the 15, the 52, we have the 56. We have so many different freeways that kind of merge into other freeways. Once you get here, do your best to learn the freeways. It will make your life a whole lot easier. I know a lot of the time we're kind of relying on GPS, but if you can learn, eventually you'll know how to navigate yourself. It makes things a lot smoother. And then when you talk to people, like locals like myself, we talk in freeways. Hey, like, so what part of San Diego do you live in? Oh, I live off the 805 right in Kearny Mesa, or right off the 15. I mean, you'll hear people talk like this all the time. You're like, wait, what is he talking about? There's not like hundreds of freeways here. There's only a few major ones. So if you learn them, it'll make communication a lot easier to get to know where other people live. Now, my favorite part, what to avoid doing before moving to San Diego. The reason it's my favorite part is because I find people make a lot of mistakes that are very avoidable. So I'm gonna share everything that I've seen, and just kind of my own personal experience dealing with people on my day-to-day work. One of the things is locking down some sort of housing before you move to San Diego. I find a lot of people take a leap of faith, hoping that they find something as they get here. They'll have a hotel room. They're like, oh, it'll only take me a few days before I lock down that apartment or buy that house, or whatever the case might be. And it's a very risky thing to do. One of the stories I can actually share with you is someone who had a family who moved out, had all their things in a U-Haul, just kind of went from hotel to hotel. And for weeks in the heat of the summertime, when things are moving very quickly, where buying homes isn't as easy as, you know, getting your offer accepted right away. I mean, we had a harsh competition, and spring and summertime is kind of known for that. They didn't give themselves time. They were in hotel rooms, eating out every single day, which, you know, the costs of eating out can go from anywhere, especially for a family, at least a couple $100 a day. So $100 to $200 a day on top of the hotel rooms. And my suggestion to people is to avoid doing this is get yourself an Airbnb rental. Like, it's okay not to sign a lease from afar. I know it's gonna be more expensive, but trust me, at least the expenses up front. Maybe you find something with a kitchenette where you guys can kind of, you know, make your own things, not eat out as much. And sure, the prices might be high, or maybe you live in a neighborhood farther east and then kind of commute to San Diego. That'll be far better than just going from a hotel room that's about $200 a night and you're there for weeks. Like, that's a really expensive way to live. So give yourself anywhere between, at a minimum, 30 days to kind of relax, settle yourself in, then start exploring and use the other suggestions I gave you within the housing portion. And then 90 days will even give you a really good view. I mean, maybe you don't need that much time, but I know people who have bought homes, who stayed in Airbnb rentals for 90 days, end up finding their home through the process and didn't feel so stressed about having to move all their stuff in right away. They gave themselves some time. Yes, it does come at a higher cost, However, you're going to give yourself a sense of peace and freedom that you don't need to be pressed to just accept anything. So please just give yourself some time. Another thing is, don't trust the pictures you see on all these websites. I mean, there's professional photographers that are really affordable to most property owners. It's not like back in the days where if you see professional photos where it's like, wow, this person really invested it. Today, I mean, I could take pictures off my iPhone that look pretty professional. And so people get this idea of like, wow, this unit's great. Like they have all the upgrades I'm looking for. It seems like it's in a really great area. However, they don't know what the environment looks like. So when you're afar looking online, one of the suggestions I give to my clients is like, hey, look at Google Maps, where you can literally put yourself in the area, you drop a little pin, and then you just go right into the area that you're looking to live in. Kind of walk around down the streets, click on the map. It's really cool how you can do this nowadays. But you can see things like, is it next to a gas station? Is it on a busy road where cars are constantly passing, there's a lot of noise? Is there new developments going around where you're just going to constantly hear construction? This method will help you eliminate a lot of things. Even when I'm choosing homes to give to my clients, before I even schedule these homes, I look at the Google map and I'm like, hey, let's avoid these areas because I want you to look at what I'm looking at, and just knowing your preferences, I know that this probably is not going to work for you. So I don't want to waste your time. What do you think? And most of the time they're really grateful. And I think that this is a really effective way, whether you're looking for rentals or you're looking to buy a house, just to get to know the areas, even kind of touring through kind of what neighborhoods you want to live in. Google Maps will play a vital role in getting to know all the different areas. Get a budget before you start looking around. I find that a lot of people get really excited about moving to San Diego because of a job opportunity, and they start to look at different neighborhoods. They're like, well, I want to live in this neighborhood or that neighborhood. My suggestion is establish your budget before picking any neighborhood or getting emotionally attached. San Diego is expensive. It's not like back in the day where you could get a reasonable place for around $1,500-1,200. It's really, really picked up in cost. So if you're expecting to be by the beach and maybe it's not fitting, it's just a really hard conversation to have. And most of the time when people reach out to me and ask me about the different areas and the neighborhoods that they're attached to, I kind of have to break it to them like, hey, just based on your budget and just what you're looking for, I don't think it's realistic. So having a budget before you actually look for a place, it can help you identify the neighborhoods that fit your preferences, but also fit your price range, and kind of have an idea, okay, I might have to commute a little farther to get what I'm looking for. So I think it's one of the ways to just kind of avoid distress. So what is more important, your lifestyle or your home? That's kind of one of the things that goes along with your budget. You got to kind of establish what's important to you or your family. I wanted to leave you with a lasting thought, especially if you have pets. San Diego is very pet friendly. It's an area where a lot of people usually have pets. I have 2 of my own that I love dearly, and that most of my day-to-day life is kind of around the dogs, their schedule. I need to be back home by a certain time to take them out. I need to be able to walk them. I need to be able to show them attention and not be away from home. And if you're a pet owner like myself, you're gonna appreciate this piece of advice I'm gonna give you. So there's a lot of pet restrictions within different communities. You gotta tell them up front that you have pets. Don't try to do the sly thing of like, hey, I'm just gonna go in and I'm just gonna have the pet and then we're just gonna go under the radar. Because I'll tell you, if they have a pet restriction and if they tell you up front what it is, and then you try bringing in your pets, it's going to be very problematic for you. It's going to be very stressful, and then you'll have to look for another place. So just understand that there's pet restrictions and ask those questions up front. What's the pet deposit? Is there a pet rent? If you have an emotional support animal, just know that those requirements may be waived depending on what community and landlord. I'm pretty sure it's law, but just confirm that before you just take my word for it. But just in general, if you love your pets, just know that there's different parts that have breed restrictions. Townhomes and condos, HOAs, do have certain pet restrictions I've seen, like it can't be over this weight limit. But again, it's all dependent on the community and the apartments that you're looking at. So just one of the things, if you love your pets, just make sure you do the research prior to just accepting any place. All right, so that was the ultimate San Diego relocation guide. If you enjoyed this video, I will make a part 2. I just want to know if it's valuable to you. Leave a comment down below of where you're watching from and kind of what you would like to learn about or what you would like to see more from us. And our team will get to it. Some lasting thoughts for you. San Diego is an amazing place to live, but there are a lot of things to consider that can make your move really smooth. And that's kind of my job, is to kind of present you the information so that way you can utilize it and just take advantage of everything that I'm giving you for free. Also, just don't forget to enjoy it once you're here. Once you made it to San Diego and once you've moved in here, just enjoy everything that San Diego has to offer. And if you're wanting to learn more about San Diego, well, I'll see you guys next week.